Hey, you wild ladies. What is going on? How is everybody's summer going? My gosh, the weather's shifted here in Kelowna. The lake is warming up. The birds are chirping. I went on an incredible morning walk this morning for like almost 2 hours with my friend Amy. You know, one of those like really great business besties, the people that you really need in your life to talk about all things from parenting to business and just cheering each other on. And here's the thing about Amy that I love is you would almost think at this point now that the Pink Skirt Project would be in competition with the work that she does. And it's not, because there is enough for everybody to go around. And it was just such a beautiful like confirmation that two mature women coming together who could potentially have businesses that compete against each other can have mature, loving conversations. Let's do more of that, please. Let's cheer each other on. Let's not compete. And let's just love each other. And like, speaking of love, because I get this question a lot, I know Dan does too, is how do we keep our love alive while growing our businesses? There's not too many dynamics out there where there are two entrepreneurs having babies, getting married, growing businesses, and still wildly in love and just respecting each other. And I don't want to say that it came easy, because it didn't. We've done all the work, and I talk about this a lot on this podcast, but I really wanted to share how we do it, because it's not like everything is perfectly in our calendar on like the moments we come home to kiss each other at 3 p.m. or we wake up at 5:30 a.m. every day and we cuddle. Like, that's not who we are. I'm sure Dan would actually love that, but that's not who I am. And so today I want to talk to you about how we have a loving, respectful relationship. We love our parenting our children. How we do it so that we can actually just enjoy every single moment of our days. When we first got together, though, let me tell you, a lot of people thought that we would break up. A lot of people thought that it was impossible for us to do business together, supporting each other, he doing a startup, me having a PR agency. But 15 years later, we've been together for 15 years. We're still both scaling our companies in multiple companies, have exited multiple companies. And right now, in this season, in this era of our life, we feel way more in love than probably ever before. And here's what nobody tells you about loving someone while you're both building empires, that it's not about balance. It's about boundaries. It's not about compromises. It's about clarity. And it's definitely not about choosing between love and ambition, because you can have both. And quite frankly, to be successful in business and to have such a great relationship, you need both love and ambition. So today, I'm sharing the unfiltered playbook that Dan and I use to protect our relationship while growing our businesses. These aren't your feel-good theories. These are like tried and true, tested experiments, deep, ugly poop sandwiches that we've had to eat over the years, because we were growing together. We were maturing. I was in my late 20s. He was in his early 30s. And here we are. And we had to kind of navigate some tumultuous waters, in the sense that we were, for like, especially as a woman, like coming of age, really understanding who I was, and him being patient enough to really, step back and watch this happen and not feel like a sense of responsibility to give me advice or coach me or fix me. That we were the best at just holding mirrors up to each other to say, hey, listen, this trigger or this thing you're doing, it's you, babe. It's not me, it's you, and I'm just here. So first, before I get into the good stuff, I want to tell you about the non-negotiables that almost destroyed us before we figured this out. So these are some big ass do not do's that have helped us through the big storms. The first one is don't compete with each other. Never compete with each other. It's never about who made more money or who lost more weight or whose abs show more in pictures, who can afford a bigger car, who has more famous friends. Like, as soon as you start creating a competition that's an unhealthy competition in a relationship, it's doomed. Because it shows you your insecurities. It shows you your lack. It shows you where maybe you're not showing up and you know your potential. So instead of working on yourself, you're reflecting this back on your partner by way of competition. Now, I believe in healthy competition and I love that, but I am Dan's biggest cheerleader. When he closes those deals, when he gets on those big podcasts, I'm the first one there saying that is so awesome. I don't feel jealous. I don't feel doubt. This is the truth. The next thing that is so important is that we both don't support workaholism. Workaholism is that we set clear boundaries around those go seasons and the slow season. So you go in a big launch, like Dan, when he was publishing his book, was a huge go season for him. And he was clear. He sat me down. He's like, Renee, I don't know how this is going to go, but here's how I anticipate my days looking. And we're hiring and our businesses are growing. So there's all this stuff happening out of my control, some of it in my control. So I want you to know that I might be tired or short or exhausted, or I'm going to be busy and I'm going to be traveling a lot. Are you okay with that? And so I'd ask him, well, what does that look like? And we'd open up a calendar and we'd say, here's when I'm traveling. Here's when I'm coming back. We created a rule when we first started dating that we wouldn't be without each other for more than 10 days. And, we've had the luxury of actually reducing that time away from each other. So we created these rules. We didn't support us working and burning the midnight oil. Like I said, there are seasons for that. The other thing that's a non-negotiable is we don't hope that it'll all just work itself out. You get in a fight because somebody did something or there's something that's been bugging me, and I don't just hope and pray that it's all just going to go away. We were intentional about nurturing our relationships. We were intentional about sitting down with an agenda, with the things written down saying, hey, this thing that happened, this is how it made me feel. Or this is, something that I don't think was right. And actually talking about the issues after maybe a night's sleep, not in the moment, because that's also a terrible idea, and really figuring out how to get through it. Yes, we still argue. Yes, we still fight, but also Dan, like the personal work that Dan's done, the same with myself, allows him to not be triggered when I'm in a mood. Women get in moods. Our hormones are all over the place, especially if we're going through midlife stuff. And he understands, because he used to take it personally. He used to think that it's all on him. And he realized, it has nothing to do with him. I'm having a moment. And part of the venting, the letting out the steam is just in the mood that I'm in, and it has nothing to do with him. Your relationship isn't a distraction from your success. It's the foundation of it. So there's these, I think it was a Buddhist who's on TikTok. And he was basically saying that for a man, like your woman is the wealth attractor. Like women, like I know this, my position. I know what I do for our relationship. With Dan, I am the wealth attractor. He is the wealth creator in a sense that I attract that energetic abundance and magnetize it to our relationship, and he converts it into riches. And I believe that dynamic exists in every healthy relationship, the yin and the yang. So for a woman, maybe in a position where, and this might be you, or it could be your partner, where they don't feel like they're, quote, contributing financially, yet the partner is out there able to make a lot of money or make the money that you dream of to support your family, to live a life that you want. The other partner who's not necessarily generating that money is still attracting that abundance. And there's such importance in that yin and the yang. The fact that Dan knows he can come home and everything in the house with the boys and the kids and all that stuff is taken care of. Yes, we have a house manager. But what I mean by is that the house is going to be a home for him. Energetically, it's going to be a home. It's safe. It's clean. It's what he needs. It's what I need. It's what we all need. And I think that is an important role of the feminine, not to dive deep here. And he sees that as my role. And I love that. I love that, making the house a home. It's like my favorite thing to organize and clean and just make it just like a fun, welcoming, safe space. So going back to this point of don't ever hope it's just going to work itself out. It rarely, if ever, does. You have to confront the issue and hopefully nip it in the bud. And just by way of writing it down, write down the things. Like we talk about how we meet every week. we have our Martell Clan meeting, and we have an agenda that we follow every single week. If you want that agenda, hit me up on Instagram, Renee_Warren. And we go through some of these things. And one of the last things that we discuss are the issues to be discussed. Did anything happen in the last week that upset me that I want to discuss? Because now we have an intentional time and intentional space to discuss it. Because most times it's not healthy or appropriate to discuss it in the moment because you're heated, you're hot, right? You want to cool down and you want to come to a meeting where we're both intentional about giving and receiving. So let's get into the other stuff. Let me talk about our personality dance. The personality dance, people think we're both extroverts, and they're wrong. I'm actually an introvert. And even though I'm recording this episode into a camera and I can see myself, I still find this can be exhausting because this is really about extroverted energy. I can show up in my extroverted energy, but by nature of being an introvert, I need time to recoup. And he's the kind of person that's like, what are y'all doing today, tomorrow, the next day? Let's do this and let's do that. And let's gather the people and gather the troops and go do all the things. Meanwhile, my 10 out of 10 weekend is like, let's sleep in, let's stay home, let's journal, let's organize. Let's work on the landing page website copy. Like, that's who I am. I love people. I really do. But I also just need them in microdoses. So if you're like me, let me know. But the thing about him too is that he is the risk taker and I'm the calculator. He will see an opportunity and want to jump in almost immediately. And I want to research and plan and have all 3 backup plans. And this used to drive us both crazy until I realized the superpower. Like he's like been asking me for years, hey, Renee, you want to go to Burning Man? And it'd been a while since he asked, and we were with some really incredible people, Preston Smiles, Alexi Pano, our dear friends out of Austin, Texas, love them to death, said, hey, do you want to come with our crew? And if there's any crew we'd go with, it would be them. 100% it would be them. And this was like the best opportunity. And he's like, well, my husband goes, what more do you need to know to make this decision? Let's go. And I go, well, what do we need to bring? Because do we need to like rent an RV? What day are we leaving? When are we coming back? Are we bringing the kids? Like, I was the one that's like the idea of being there, being like planted into the middle of playa, surrounded by people and dirt and really cool architecture and stuff sounds amazing. But he doesn't think of the like logistics leading up to it, during and after. He just thinks of being in the moment, which is also what I love about him. But I'm that logistics person. When I go into like launching a program, like we're launching the Pink Skirt Society. It's a membership-based community for all the people that attended the Pink Skirt Project and any woman who wants to feel that, like, get more confidence and level up. But I need things calculated. Like, what does the onboarding process look like? How are they going to experience the first few days, first month, first few weeks? How does the offboarding work? Like, I need to get a sense of what that looks like. Nope. He's like, hey, you want to work with me? Here's my email address. Email me or give me your credit card and we'll get you signed up right away. The thing about him is that he pushes me outside of my comfort zone and I keep him from making $1 million mistakes. We don't try to change each other. We leverage each other. And here's an example. About a year and a bit ago, Dan was offered an opportunity to become an owner in a very large, beautiful, gorgeous, brand new catamaran in the British Virgin Islands. Now, this is one of our favorite trips in the entire world. We've done it 3 times now. The first 2 times was like, holy crap, home run. You can't get any better than this. And so when this opportunity came up, because we loved sailing the British Virgin Islands so much, he was like, yes, let's do it. Here's our opportunity. And I said, show me the boat. Does the crew come on the boat? Where is it docked? How much is this going to cost? What are the weeks we can go? Like, asking all the questions. And I go, babe, how about we just go on the boat, enjoy it for a week with friends to really get a sense of whether or not this is something we want to do. And let me tell you, it's a damn good thing we did, because one of the crew members, who is a very important part of this boat, who actually helped build the boat in the sense, like, chose all the things and knows how it works, is a non-negotiable and comes with the boat. And we didn't really align. We didn't see eye to eye. And it was very clear that that would have been an absolute emotional, spiritual mistake for us, not a financial mistake. And so that was the difference between him and I in that moment. Now, on the opposite end of things, what he does as a risk taker is he really pushed me to take the chance with the Pink Skirt Project in finding somebody to do it with, which is Anita, and asking them to go 50-50 on risk and profit. Like, take the chance, stop talking about it. That's the person that he is. So that's like the dance of the personality in terms of the calculator versus the risk taker. And we know these roles of each other. When we first started dating, he was really frustrated because he's like, how dare I don't operate the way he operates? Like, he thought that I would just match his energy, match his hustle, match his approach, his thinking, because he got successful. And if he thinks that's the rhythm to be successful, why aren't I doing it? Because it's not who I am. And so when he started to really understand who I was and that I am the calculator, he stepped back and he's like, I love this for you. And it probably saved our butts a few times. So we also appreciate each other's worldviews. So the key isn't finding someone who thinks exactly like you do. It's finding someone whose different perspective makes you both better. He sees possibilities where I see problems. I see details where he sees big pictures, kind of like the calculator and the risk taker. We've learned to translate for each other. When he says, let's do this, I hear, help me think through the risks. And when I say, let me research this, he hears, help me see the opportunity. So the best partnership aren't built on sameness. They're built on complementary strengths, like the yin and the yang, like the black and the white. And this dance of our personalities ended up, I hate the term complete each other, because we don't complete each other. Nobody completes anybody. Nobody's ever complete. Until the day you die, you're never complete. But you can find a good match who balances you out in a sense that, like, the risk taker versus the calculator, the fire versus the water, the earth versus the air. And it took some climbing some mountains to really figure that out between the both of us, but we did, and it's awesome. So here are the non-negotiable do's. These are the things that we do. We always have sacred time together. This is every week, no phones, no business talk, no exceptions, even if we're launching something, even if there's a crisis, and even especially then. Date night isn't a luxury. It's a relationship maintenance, even if that means like going for a 30-minute drink. Like 2 days ago, we're in my studio here, and Anita was here, and we were chatting, and she was wrapping up to leave. Dan pops in and goes, hey, babe, do you want to go on a date with me? And yes, of course, I'd love to, but I knew I had to get home to the boys because one of our sons had a pretty rough day and he needed mama. And he's like, come on, let's just go. We'll walk over to Cactus Club. We'll grab a drink and an appetizer, and then we'll call it a night. And it was like 4:30 in the afternoon. And I was like, no, because like my mama heart was like, I need to get home to the boys. Meanwhile, they're fine. They're with Betty. They're fine. I felt guilty. And I could just see it. He just wanted that time. He just wanted that time with me. So I said, okay, you know what? You're right. Let's do this. So we went for 35 minutes. That was it. We got a drink. We got a little appetizer, and it both filled up our love tanks. It was like the most perfect little evening. The same memories. We talked and we shared really cool ideas and talked about the future of world schooling for us and all that stuff. The other thing that we have as a non-negotiable is our energy protection protocols. When we're ruthless about who gets access to our energy. So friendships, like this could be clients too, it could be family. There are energy vampires, people who just don't respect boundaries. They don't get to drain what we need for each other. Dan and I have a code word for when someone needs to go. We don't debate it in the moment. We just trust each other's judgment, and then we execute on the decision. Sometimes it's just a look like, babe, I'm ready to go. And we do this thing where we like Houdini. So Houdini is when you're at a party, and instead of going around and saying bye to every single person, you just leave. Another example of this is a friend of Dan's. And like, honestly, I really don't care who Dan's friends with. Like, I trust that there's a reason and there's possibility with the people that he's friends with. But there was this one particular person that I knew just was not good for him energy wise or his reputation. And I felt guilting asking him to really like step back and disassociate. But upon further reflection, after months and years of me just being like, yeah, he's kind of not the person I'd want in my house. And I really do not want to go out of my way to hang out with him. And my husband asked me why, and I gave him my reason. I just said it's an energetic misalignment. They're not malicious. It's just there's a potential of your reputation being ruined because something did happen at one point when he came to speak within Dan's group. And he finally said, you know what? You're right. I can't believe I'm ignoring you, because if you think that this person is not in a great alignment for my group of friends, my energy, I'll consider it. And he thought I was trying to control him, but I never showed up with that controlling energy. I showed up with concern for him and his reputation. The other thing is the business talk boundary. We have specific times that we can talk about business. It's not all the time. It's not in the bedroom. Sometimes it's on date night, but it's not. Because if we're at it all day, he's literally on the other side of this wall. It's like sometimes I just want to know like how he's feeling, or like something he learned that day, or something cool that happened. It doesn't always have to be business talk. So when you get two entrepreneurs together, you need to take a break. You need to show up as the wife or the husband or the partner that's not just an entrepreneur. So, and then when we do talk about business, you need to be efficient about it. You need to be efficient about those conversations. You need to create the space for everything else that makes you a human, right? Like parenting, about schooling, about kids' sports, like all this stuff. The fourth thing is individual identity protection. We're not Renee and Dan, the business couple. We are Renee, who happens to love Dan, and Dan, who happens to love Renee. We protect our individual identities, our friendships, and our interests. The strongest couples are made up of two whole people, not two halves trying to complete each other, like I said early, and definitely not compete against each other. We are like, when people say, oh, power couple, I understand the sentiment, but I actually just don't like it, because like we're a power couple, but what does that mean if we're not together? Do I still hold that sense of power in that person's eye? Probably not. I don't know. And when people say power couple, it's like, are they striving to attain this level of intensity or relationship that we have? I don't know. I think every relationship is unique, and every relationship has the potential and possibility to be what it's going to be, but you don't have to be like us. We are individuals. And the other thing too that's really important is protecting our reputations. Not anyone can have access to us whenever or wherever they want at the same time, for me, for him, for us. We are very intentional about protecting our reputations individually and as a couple. Perfect example in this is that Dan, publicly states his admiration for me, which I love. And I do the same for him. He'll literally say, I'm very married in conversations. And he has rules around who can be alone with him and where. This isn't about not trusting each other, because I trust him so much. It's about not giving anyone else the opportunity to create drama. And let me tell you, I am an extremely good judge of character, and I will not talk to people. I will disassociate. I will distance myself from people if I know there's bad energy, because that bad energy, it's a signal. It's data saying, hey, something's up with this person or this thing between you and this person. And the moment that I feel that with anybody on the team, anybody like in the family or our friends, I'll kind of like double click on it silently with myself for a while to just really assess, is this just a trigger? Is this a mirror? Or is there something really up with this person? And when I give it enough time, that's when I bring it to Dan. And I say, hey, this person in this role or this person, I don't think that they're good energy. And if he feels the same way, it's an immediate, and not a mean way of like cutting somebody out like a mean girl. It's just respectfully distancing ourselves. We don't have to be friends with everybody, and nor do you. Another example is like Dan won't go to one-on-one meetings with certain people in private settings. I don't engage in conversations that feel too personal with male colleagues. We don't attend events solo where the dynamic might be questionable. People love to create stories about successful couples. They love to find cracks. They love to start rumors. They love to plant seeds of doubt. We don't give them material to work with. We learned this the hard way early on. Someone made a comment that created unnecessary tension between us. And I was just proactive in making sure that would never, ever happen again. I had a person who was, anyways, in my life, a female entrepreneur. And this was when Dan first got his first McLaren. So his first supercar. And it was a big deal in our city because no one else had a McLaren and all the car people wanted to come and see it. And this woman commented on Facebook. She sent me a direct message and she's like, wow, great for Dan for getting this car, which followed up with the question, are you worried he's going to cheat on you? I'm like, what? Like, that never occurred to me that just because a guy got a nice car, then all of a sudden he's a cheater. So I was insulted in that moment. And I said, oh, I think that reflects more on you than me. And also I'm not friends with this person anymore. Because to think that they would think that is that they thought that I wasn't good enough for him. Like, I don't know, all these thoughts. But never would we put ourselves in a compromising situation to allow people to get material to ruin reputations. And I urge you to do the same. Like, it's easier to put barriers in place to protect your identities and protect who you are, individuals or as a couple in business, as entrepreneurs, your personal brand, than it is to not and then have to make up for it later on. So protect your reputation. And the lastly is communicating during crisis. So when businesses get stressful, as they always do, we have agreements about how we will communicate. No taking frustrations out on each other, no ignoring, no just always hitting up the gym or staying late at work without talking about what the heck is going on. And most importantly, especially for men, is learning to over communicate when things are really tough. Now, I know to a man, over communicating seems like way too much information, but to a woman, the over communication from a man ends up being just enough. We need to know why, the details, how, who, where, when. Like, we need this to process. It goes back way, way deep in our biology as to women need to know why we need to know this information. So when Dan is coming into a crazy season of whatever it is, like right now he has Martell Ventures and Martell Media, and there's people coming and going and firing and being recruited and all this stuff. He'll just say, hey, babe, crazy week. Or, hey, babe, today was a crazy day. These 3 things happened. I'm so exhausted. And so I'm going to go to bed if that's cool. It's like, yes, of course, because I respect the fact that he probably ate shit sandwiches all day, of which he didn't tell me about, but at least he told me he was frustrated. And I'll respect that. Like during a crisis, it's like something's wrong with the car and he has a crisis, or there's some miscommunication happening with his father. It's like when you over communicate how you're feeling or the things that's challenging, it's just stating, hey, these happened today. I'm still processing. I'm exhausted. Are you cool if I go to bed? Because then the other person doesn't think that they did something wrong. So when you protect your relationship, like you protect your biggest clients, it changes absolutely everything when it comes to a marriage. And a lot of these things you can actually do even in business, with your partner in business or with friends. The reason why I wanted to share this with you is because as you grow your reputation, as you grow your reach, your influence, your affluence, and maybe it's you and your husband or wife or partner, you're going to be faced with new challenges. And if you want to stay together, you want that love to be alive, you have to set these things in motion, these boundaries, these rules, these communication guidelines so that you can forge ahead and then go to the next level. You can love and you can have ambition, but only if you're willing to fight for both. Until next time, ladies, peace out.